Good evening, everyone. For the next edition of its online leadership talk series, Vaakya, the Vinod Gupta School of Management, IIT Kharagpur, is privileged to host Mr. Shrikant Lonikar, Whole-time Director and Chief Human Resources Officer at Pernod Ricard, Gulf, SAARC region, and India, for a riveting session on the future of the workforce and how Pernod Ricard engaged its workforce during the pandemic. With over 35 years of experience in leading HR transformations, occupying key roles in Walmart India, Adani Group, Honeywell, and Wipro, Mr. Lonikar has proven leadership record across the globe, having led his organizations towards garnering significant accolades like Best Employer and top 5 rankings in the Great Places to Work. Mr. Lonikar's passion lies in fostering collaborative organizational culture, developing leaders and employer brands. A certified executive coach, international speaker, and visiting faculty at several management schools, Mr. Lonikar also occupies the positions of chairman of the HR committee of Indo-French Chamber of Commerce and industry and member of the governing body of the Academy of HRD. We are really excited to host you today, sir, and we look forward to your session, for which promises to be an interactive discussion on the best practices of workforce management. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Jamna. That was a nice introduction. Really appreciate for doing that. Just a question. We have time up to what, 7 o'clock or 7:30, because my calendar is blocked till 7:30.
So we can have the session till 7 o'clock, and then we can have a question answer round where the students can ask the questions.
After
or whichever way you like. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we'll keep the question answer for the end part of it. So thank you.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Good evening. Thank you so much for inviting me to be a part of this evening with you and giving this opportunity to me, my colleague Pramit, to be with you. We are still going through these troubled times. COVID-19 continues to haunt us, but as and when COVID-19, this disease goes away, problem is not going to go away. You know, the biggest challenge that we are into is a long drawn battle that we have to be prepared for. And that is something that sounds like a battle today, but it will get normalized in about 3 to 6 months time, because this is changing the ways of living, working, thinking, behaving, connecting. Everything is going to change after this. My sense is that it will be different from what we are used to, but I believe it will be better. So to that extent, it's not a matter of worry, but we'll have to be adaptable to take the best out of it. So what we'll do is that I'll talk to you a little bit about how my company, my team has been addressing this issue from the early days to where we are today, what we plan to do, a little bit about what I see as a future. I'll share my thoughts with you. And then in the last part, we'll go for Q&A as Jeremiah suggested. Okay. So let me share my screen. Can you please confirm if you are able to see the screen?
Yes, sir. We're able to see.
And can you see the next page now?
Yes, sir. Short recap for PRI.
Yes, great. So, you know, this is the story of a company that is known for its success of more than 25 years in India, all through known for its growth, known for its market leadership, and for a very unique culture of conviviality this company has had in this country. So, like everybody else who was hit by this pandemic in a big way, we are still undergoing that impact. why I want to share with you this is because we had a very unique approach right from the beginning to do that. And this is a story of three specific characteristics of this company. One is agility. The company quickly is able to change, adapt, and move into the future in any kind of situation. The second and most important thing is about innovation. And this is also part of our DNA that we are able to look into the future the way others cannot. And we create something that is possible for many. So that openness of mind and bringing some kind of creativity, moving into the uncharted territories, that's not something new for us. And third and the most important factor that helped or helps us today also is conviviality. Conviviality is, a word that we use often at Pernod Ricard because that is our way of life in this country. It's a French word, but now adapted in English also. To us, conviviality means uh, being together, sharing, caring, building relationships, networking, developing a good amount of time together, and having a good laugh with friends, near ones, and enjoying life the way you can, but not solo with others. So it's all about happiness, being happy and making others happy. So this is a time where we needed conviviality the most for everybody around. So I'll talk about these things briefly, and then we can get into questions. So how it started was, in December, COVID-19, it hit China in a bad way, big way. Pernod Ricard has a big business in China. We operate in 85 different countries. So China is one of our largest markets, among the top three, including India. So when it's impacted China, we were watching, and it became soon clearer that it is not a local problem of China. It is going to impact many of us outside China. So all of us started learning from China. What are they doing? How are they responding? What is working? What is not working? And all that. Some lessons we learned for India, for our Europe business, for our US and Latin America business, and everywhere we started putting some principles in place to do that. Uh, most important thing was we said that let us prevent as much as we can, and all preventive actions started. I'll talk about it. We first and foremost we said that there will be no travel. So avoid international travel, avoid domestic travel, because it was seen very clearly that movement of people from one place to another is one of the strong reasons for this disease to spread. And then we were not very sure should we talk to people, because if you recall in the end of January, situation was not as bad in India. If you go back to, for example, WHO statements, and they were saying that, hey, don't panic, there is nothing to be serious about. It is not a pandemic, it is just an epidemic. And these kind of statements were coming, and everybody was saying that, don't panic. So we were worried whether we should go to our employees and say it officially that let's prepare for this or just keep it informal. But finally, then we decided on 2nd of February, then I wrote a mail to all people with a video call and communicated that now we are very close to this situation, and be cautious, be prepared to handle something that is we have never handled in the past. Then comes, late part of February, we started looking at the situation, but still we were quite hopeful. By then, this disease had traveled all the way to Europe, and we saw European countries getting impacted in some way, and that is where the big bells of alarm were rung all around the world, and then WHO started saying that it could lead to a pandemic. So early May, then when we realized that this is going to be a big, early March, when we realized that this is going to be a big deal, then we announced a work from home policy. Uh, just to clarify, we never had a work from home policy at Pernod Ricard. This is the first time we said that we will have to learn to work from remote. So we got a bunch of our people and we said that all office-based employees, they will work alternate days. So 17th of March, we announced the first batch of people to stay at home. And we said 18th March, the other batch will go, the first batch will come, and we'll experiment with this for some time. But as the situation overnight changed and governments in state as well as center, they started advising that why don't you guys, as corporates, ease out the pressure on the society, traffic, travel, and all that. So mostly we would like you to work from home. That was an appeal, not a law. But at Pernod Ricard, one of the principles that we follow is local government's guidelines are always a law for us. So when they appeal to do something, we believe that that is the demand of the government. So we said we'll be the first company to do that. And by then, many companies had started doing some or the other way work from home. But on 18th March, we decided all of us will work from home, except our sales and manufacturing people who are out in the factories or markets. But we gave them guidelines how they should protect themselves at that point in time. On 22nd March, we had the first Janata curfew, and on 23rd March, government said from 24th, there will be a full lockdown around the country. And that is where we stopped all our factories, all our sales offices were locked, and actual work from home engagement activities started there. I will talk a little bit about that. And this is the time we actually started stepping out, and we said that it is not only important to protect our people and follow law, it is important to contribute to the society. And Pernod Ricard does a lot of work in CSR area. We do it very silently, but we have huge budgets to spend on that. Being an alcohol beverage company, we said we will contribute to making of sanitizers. And we did huge quantities of sanitizer manufacturing in few of our plants and distributed across and many other supports that we extend to the government, society, and NGOs. And now, 4th of May was the time when the fourth lockdown was announced on. That is where people started saying, is it unlockdown or something like that? But a lot of activities, including factory operations, were allowed in most of the states. Offices could partially work and all that. But we decided that we will operate only our factories, not offices, not salespeople, not head office. From employees will be protected when they are going out of their home, and there will be a quick solution to every crisis that we face. So just to give a little more details, that first and foremost, when we learn from China, what happens in this situation is all the PPEs in the market, they will be vanished. You will not get your access to that. So we bought a lot of surgical masks, hand rubs, sanitizers, soaps, and all that, and distributed across the country. We have about 50 odd locations in India with direct, indirect manpower of 7,000 people. And we had made it as a clear guideline for ourselves that when we talk of employee, everybody, that is all third party or contract labor are working for us, they will be covered in that policy. So when I say employees, I'm saying we are talking about 1,300 Pernod Ricard India employees, and balance are all third-party contract employees. And that's where you will see these quantities were not good enough, even if it looks thousands of these things. We made sure that these are available in each location, and this was also meant to cover the family members of employees. It is not about an employee. And you can understand the logic simply. If I just give it to my employee who is living out of a home where the rest of the family is living and they don't have access to these things, it doesn't make any sense practically or emotionally also. We did, during this February, March, frequent sanitization of the offices, cleaning of door handles, to any couriers that are coming and all that. And then, of course, movement of people were prevented at that time. And come March, when we had to actually go and do this work from home, first and foremost, we made sure that all our people have access to Wi-Fi broadband across all locations. And there are few people who live in very, very remote places. But we made sure that they have connectivity, they have equipment with them, either a smartphone or a tab, iPad, whatever, but they have to stay connected. Uh, we we use Office 365 of Microsoft, so we used MS Teams as a communication mode, which still helps us in a big way. MS Planner is a tool, and we didn't know it is there only. So we just asked our people, how can we stay connected, and how do we continue to work during this time remotely? And then we were looking at some solutions, and there are ready-made solutions available in the market as technology platforms. But one of my IT colleagues, he came and he said, look, Office 365 has this MS Planner. Why don't you use that? And then we reviewed that and we found this is what we were looking for. And it's phenomenal, meaning it is a task management platform, project management style working. You can do that. You can assign work to people, you can track, record, whatever you want to do, or you will do typically on a piece of paper, you can do it on MS Planner. So we started using that uh, and multiple activities that were happening at March time that we started focusing on that. People, if they are working in a factory, they should maintain distance. At that time, it was not very clearly defined. Later on, we got enough clarity on that. One big thing we did was that at our early stages in March itself, we did a tie-up with multiple doctors. And we got a very, very senior, seasoned and renowned doctor in Delhi. And we said that this doctor will be our hotline and they will provide all the telemedicine to people, not only on COVID, but for any other disease that you want to contact. Now you are in mobile, you cannot leave your home. So this doctor, and in all smaller locations, we said that let us tie up with doctors or polyclinics or hospitals. The idea of doing that was we knew based on this China experience, and by then we had already seen what was happening in Italy, France, and some of these countries, that government medicine or healthcare machinery will not be good enough for the patients that are going to come. And we said, being a responsible corporate, we should not add further load into that system. So we said, let's find out our own alternative to that. Uh, March, April, and some part of May, private hospitals or doctors were not allowed to treat COVID patients. Okay, even tests were not allowed. So, but we told our doctors that if you feel that there is a possibility that somebody has a COVID symptoms, we'll refer them to the government hospitals or the approved labs. But until then, why should we go and talk to government hospitals and check my temperature kind of thing? That's not a good thing to do. And then when we went on full work from home system, then we give detailed guidelines. Every week we have been meeting our leadership teams, top leadership of the company, and we keep doing the reviews of where we are, how things are moving, and what are the things happening. There was one serious case. We had, one of our employees from head office who was at home living in Delhi, and he reported sick. So, one of the challenges here is that this quarantine centers that has created a huge amount of scare among people. So, even a good knowledge of I'm not well is, something that people want to suppress, and that's what we have been communicating with our employees. That do not stop at your own home. Let us know, and we will make sure that you will get all the facilities, all the testing, as well as treatment that you need. So one of this person, 2-3 days he carried a fever, and he didn't report. And then slowly, coolly, he reported to one of his managers. That managers did not tell. But then finally we came to know, and then we brought it up and we took him to a hospital. And doctor said, yes, he is COVID positive. So that was the first case in our company. One of our employees reported. And he was admitted to one of the super specialty top hospitals of Delhi. And after 2 days, the doctors said, oh, he has a breathing trouble, so we will need to put him in ICU. And we said, okay, let's go to ICU. And they said, no, we don't have vacancy. All beds in ICU are full. So we said, that's not done. We want a bed. And he said, yeah, I know, but we don't have a bed now. I said, so be it. Then we'll find some other hospital. And I must tell you, we went to 6 other hospitals in Delhi. Not a single bed was available. We tried all our networks, right from police to doctors to NGOs to our any kind of friends, government officers, whatever you can try to bring as a influence on such decisions. We tried everything, nothing happened. No bed was available. And finally, we found one very humble source. There was a nurse working in this hospital, and one of our employees, they belong to the same place in Kerala. And this fellow talked to her, and she said, "I'll do something or something like that." So it's a long story, but that was the situation then. Then we put this person into the ICU, but we learned. This is what I was telling you about agility in the beginning. That we learned very quickly that this is not going to be a simple thing. We became extremely serious about it, and by then government had allowed a lot of private hospitals to treat. We went out of the way and did tie-ups with all these hospitals, not only in places like Delhi, Bangalore, or Mumbai, but we went into the towns of tier 2, tier 3, even tier 4 kind of towns. That we went and we asked the hospitals that please make sure that when we need a bed, you give us preferred company treatment. And we have a tie-up where they said, look, the only condition we have is bed should be available. We cannot throw somebody out because we have a tie-up with you, which is fair, which we understand that. But when we need preference, we should get preference. So today I feel very confident that our employees and their family members are safe, and they will be protected in case of eventuality. Finally, of course, this employee came out, recovered, but in between his wife, his son, daughter, both grown up, 20 something kind of kids, they declared sick because of that infection, but all of them are doing well. So far, so good. Till this week, we have about 41 cases in our company of COVID positive. This includes 3 or 4 of my company employees, about 5 or 6 are third-party employees, which is like contract labor, and balance are the members of families of either our employees or the families of third-party employees. But nothing concerning. We are doing okay. We made sure that everybody has a mask, sanitizer at home. We then bought this COVID treatment kits. Okay. These are little expensive things, but it has everything that you need that a hospital will provide you, including a thing called oxygen concentrator. So you can actually generate oxygen and treat people at home under maybe a distant guidance from a doctor, which is easy. It's not very difficult. So we have made sure these kits are bought and these are available in all locations where our employees are. So in about 2 to 6 hours time, and whenever there is a call, we have the now ability to reach this kit to somebody's house, and they can get treated at home. They don't have to go to the quarantine center or any government facility. They don't have to add any pressure on that. So that is on the health side, but most important thing is that majority of us, with God's grace, with all the precautions, we are doing well. And this time is a challenging time sitting at home. So how do we engage people at this time, and what do we do? So we used our employee wellness platform called Ananda. Ananda platform has been in existence for more than 3 years. This has 8 pillars, as you can see here. These are 8 pillars. What we talk about as a philosophy of Ananda is that it focuses on a human being as a whole, not only the part of employee. But then I have other roles to play beyond employee. I'm a father, I am a brother, I am a player, I am social media, I am whatever it is, music lover, I am friend, I am neighbor. So I have many other roles to play beyond employee. And this Ananda is, trying to address 360 degrees, that every aspect of my life will be addressed in this as a part of wellness. So we use this platform and we said that everything that we do for people, right from their engagement to health to their families, to the performance of their work or protecting their financial health, everything we should address through Ananda. And that has worked out beautifully well for us. So we started campaigning for Ananda, uh, and many creative things our people did here. They brought in a sort of a safety pledge. Somebody said that we will all read this pledge that children do in the schools, good old days. And then this COVID-19 awareness campaign, some of our employees, they volunteered and they created videos, music, dance, and all that, just to communicate that this COVID is here and be careful with that. This is something like early April I'm talking about. Then we started focusing on learning under the intellectual and occupational pillars of Ananda, and a lot of quizzes, e-learning programs, various discussions, book summaries. People are coming forward. They are conducting webinars internally, TED Talk type of programs having done there. And every day there would be a new theme that is happening, like Monday Blues, Train on Tuesdays, and Webmaster Wednesday, so on and so on. Huge amount of participation by employees and their families. One of the big issues was psychological and emotional aspect of life at this time, which was the most vulnerable and impacted. So we got a tie-up with an experienced and certified psychology consulting organization. They came and did multiple sessions for our people, on parenting during lockdown, practicing self-care, stress management, or how do you manage your routine at this time. So multiple sessions there. One of the things that we had initially told our employees that when you are taking your work home, you are causing inconvenience to your family. So you need to be apologetic to them, and it should not be reverse of that. And it is possible that you may not have a safe or completely private kind of a corner in your house. So when you are doing these calls, meetings, videos, it is possible your children, your pets, your parents, they may step in, and they may be visible on the screen here and there, which is okay. You don't have to hide. That's not your office. That is your home. So when you take work home, you are causing inconvenience to family, and bring them up. Let them. It's the scenes on the screen. Your kid is jumping on your shoulder. Introduce that kid to the team that is on the call there. If there is a noise in the background, it's okay. Tell your team on the call that, look, my wife is cooking. Or, something is happening. My daughter is doing this, which is okay. We have to be tolerant to that. And then we got into a lot of creativity activities where we involved families, and that's where we said that let us showcase this, ye mere family type of thing. Let them participate. So we got all the family members, the children, spouses, parents, in-laws, whoever is in the home at that point in time, they are participating in all these activities. Danspiration was one club that was launched. This was a big fun actually. A lot of our employees, spouses, and children, they participated. This logo that you see here, this girl dancing, this was created by one of our employees' daughter. She came forward and suggested this. Uh, we do a lot of parties. When we are physical, we are working from physical workspace, and that's culture in the company. So we started reliving those moments virtually. A lot of women, including the spouses, they participated in the spirit of PRI women, uh, prepared videos and they shared, and it became a big hit here. Uh, Many challenging activities that were done. A chef was one activity, a spiritual chef, and different things that people could do together, including Mother's Day. Various recipes were shared by people. Art, doodle artwork, workshop, some kind of cartoon workshops, and so many things that people, we got experts to come and teach, and huge amount of participation by employees and their families. Tournaments like chess tournament, we celebrated Earth Hour because during this time only, WWF had announced that. One of the big challenges people have is with respect to their financial health. So they're not very sure how the future is. All of us are not sure for that matter. So we got experts to come and do a TED talk to our people and tell them how do they manage their finances today and tomorrow and in the long term, giving a little bit of a sense of security. Physical activities and health, of course, was a big focus here. So we had multiple things like stepathon as a competition, uh, various live sessions of yoga, meditation, Zumba, everybody in the family. This continue to happen today also. Stay fit on work from home, multiple activities and challenges with Cure.fit organization. They have really helped us in bringing a lot of life into this activity. Our own brand ambassadors who are experts in our brands, products, and how do we make cocktails and all that, So they ran multiple sessions of bar basics, teaching people how do you make a good cocktail out of, for example, absolute vodka, or what is the difference between a single malt and a blended Scotch whiskey? How do we test a wine? What is difference between sparkling wine and champagne, for example? You know, which is a better wine, red wine or white wine? These kind of things, basics that people may not know. They conducted these in the evenings, and it was a fun. Apart from that, while the work was happening during this time, we told our managers that this could be a stressful thing. And to do that, we have to focus on a lot of conviviality, and there should be periodic sessions where managers must do virtual coffee with people. And when you do that, except work, everything else you can discuss there. It should be like, so how are you doing kind of a session. No work related discussion. Just think about yourself, your family, have fun, smile, and crack jokes. What you typically do, at a coffee machine in office, same kind of environment. This has become a big hit. People look forward to these sessions, because they are able to let loose. And most of the time, when they put on the camera and see their colleagues, there is a big smile, and they say, "Wow, good to see you," and look forward to seeing you in person soon. That is the feeling. So these are multiple bulletins that we keep publishing to report to people what is happening. There is also a bulletin in advance on local engagement. So this goes out every week in advance so people can plan what is going to happen here. There are happy hours people have together. They share a drink virtually there, and a lot of messages they are sending to each other. Videos they have created. I'm sure you have seen some of these on the YouTube. But very interesting, very encouraging, and motivational kind of environment that they created there. Uh, from a leadership point, we put all our top leaders together. Individually, we had video messages by these leaders to employees to show their human side to people, that though we are top leaders, we also are as human as you are. So don't worry about it. We are also suffering. We have this emotional, psychological impact. We have concerns about future, but we are handling it, and we want you to be happy about what is going to happen in future and not worried about. So these kind of messages and inspirations were shared there with all the employees. I do this internal chat show called Coffee with Shrikant. I've been doing it for a couple of years now. So in this program, I invite leaders from our own company, or CEOs and top leaders and business leaders, functional leaders from various markets, global headquarters, and of course, India leaders. So I interview these people. I talk about them, their philosophy, their life, their experiences, their leadership style, anything that generally employees would like to know about a senior successful leader. I do that. We have a lot of fun on this show. While we were going through this COVID-19, we thought, let us learn from experts and outsiders. So we invited few of the leaders from outside, and we interviewed them. And this became a big hit because you can see the stars like Suresh Narayanan or Amit Jain or Neti Ratta, Nita Lal. All of them came, and they spoke about their own stories. We got to learn how they are treating their people, what philosophy they have behind in their organizations, and how they are leading the change for future. So this is what we did. Now, what do we want to do going forward? These are the 5 focus areas. Furniture and IT infra for employees to work from home, because it has been more than 100 days. I can tell you there are a lot of employees. They tell me I sit on the bed and do this call. I'm sitting on the dining table. I sit on the floor and do that. It's not going to work well. and it cannot go on like this. And that's where we now are carving out a policy where we said, first and foremost, if you have a space in your house, we will send you a table and a chair, and that will become your office. So be comfortable on that. Then a lot of time we are seeing that when we do these kind of calls, the calls are dropping. Simple things, like Wi-Fi. You have a good Wi-Fi, but the power blinks, and the moment the power goes off and comes back in 1 minute, Wi-Fi takes 2 minutes to connect. So we said, why don't you put UPS to that power connection here, which is connected to your Wi-Fi? So that's investment. You need to buy 2, 3, 5,000 rupees UPS for that. People are given laptops, and they will have access to every platform of IT sitting at home. So as of now, our vision is that we will never work 100% from home for 100% of our employees, but we would have a rotation on working from not only home but working from anywhere. That is our current thinking, and we are making big decisions around that. Again, going back to our ways of living, conviviality. We want people to meet each other, spend time together, enjoy together, and working from home 100% is against that. We believe that people will be more happy when they are with each other, but of course, when it is safe to be there. So, whenever we out of this situation, we would like people to come to office, have their parties, lunches, dinners, travel, whatever way they can enjoy themselves. So that would be the fundamental thinking on that. Uh, Apart from that, we have now engaged a full-time clinical psychology expert agency. They have about 30, 40 clinical psychologists and psychiatrists. So these people, they are available to our employees for assistance on psychological, emotional area. They can do counseling, they can do therapy, they can solve your problems of any kind that you want. And this can happen anonymously. You just need to give them a call and directly connect. We don't play any role into this. So this is a big, big deal that we are expecting will support our employees, and this facility is available to employees and their families also. Of course, as the market changes and the business environment changes, the future changes, we will have to relook at the design of the organization. What I mean is that, as you may have known this, earlier e-commerce or home delivery of alcohol was not legally allowed in India. With this pandemic, government has allowed in many states home delivery, as well as they have created a e-commerce platform, or they have authorized existing e-commerce private platforms. So that has become a new route to market for us. It did not exist earlier. So these kind of changes that are happening in marketplace, also in the competition, also in the consumers' overall profile. To do that, we are now re-looking at our design of the organization, plus this working from anywhere. If that is a reality, then these kind of multi-layered organizations, multiple reporting relationships, or matrixed organizations, uh, frequency of supervision and review, all these things are big, big issues that we are currently focusing on. One big misnomer is that when you are at home, you must be happier than when you were in office. That's not reality, I can tell you, because not that people are not happy with being with their families. Their colleagues, their managers, they believe that anytime you are available now. So I can call you at 5 o'clock in the morning, 10 o'clock in the night, 12 o'clock in the afternoon, on Saturday, on Sunday, and you don't have an excuse saying that I'm not at home or I'm watching a movie in a theater. Everybody knows you are at home. But that discretion is missing. That people should not bother each other during these times. So we are now focusing more on that, becoming sensitive. Do not call people on Friday evenings, not on any evenings for that matter. Avoid meetings on particular days. Weekends are meant for their own personal time, what they want to do. Stop writing mails or setting up meetings. All these things we are focusing on at this time. And the key issue is about transforming our culture. As I said in the beginning, we do not have this experience of working from remote. But we are an agile organization. We are learning very quickly, but the culture takes little longer time. So how managers interact with employees, how functions interact with each other, how the multiple levels of organization will interact with each other. We have a particular way of doing these things so far. Now that is going to change. So we are now going through a training of our managers and training of our employees so that this adaptability happens faster and they do not get surprised. But my sense is that this new world that we are entering into will be a happier world, and that is where we want people to enter into that with positivity. And this training, this whole development focus will help in a big way in giving those inputs to. So caring for people is the most important aspect that I wanted to tell you is Pernod Ricard's character. Our chairman and CEO, Alexander Rickard, when this pandemic happened, first thing he said, and he sent out a message to all employees around the world saying that during these testing times, it's the people, their near and dear ones, their safety and health. This is the priority for the company. And we made sure that our employees experience it. Today also, our salespeople, we don't allow them to go to the marketplace. They go only when there is an excise officer calling them or there is a need for something to be delivered physically. Otherwise, only our manufacturing and supply chain people are working outside their homes. All offices of Pernod Ricard India are closed. We are not opening any office and we don't intend to do that. Nobody is traveling, and we make sure that all emergency support is provided to people. Because life goes on. There are deaths happening. Somebody's in-laws, somebody was hospitalized. Yesterday, I had one employee whose father-in-law got a heart attack, and we gave him permission to travel. In 2 hours, I got a message: this father-in-law has expired. There are weddings happening, there are engagements happening. There are people who are living in split location. Their family somewhere, they are forced bachelors somewhere. So these are big things that are keeping us busy. But we are making sure that there is a smile in the face. People are not stressed out because of that, and most importantly, there is no fear in the system. And that is what we talk about as a care. That they know that the hands that are protecting them are strong enough that they will never become vulnerable. And that is the assurance that we want to give to our people. So that was the first part of what I wanted to talk. I'll briefly touch upon. I'll briefly touch upon the future of work and workforce, and then maybe we'll open for question answers. As I said, this is what I want to say, that to me, the future is going to be brighter than the past. I'm not worried about it. In fact, I'm more excited about future, and I want you to think about that. We will have a new world where we are going. There will be a complete change in the products, services, and the way those are delivered. Organizations will be different. What I mean thereby is that maybe large organizations may not exist. There will be smaller organizations in future. A lot of work will be done by technology, robotics. A lot of work will be outsourced, and that will shrink the size of the organization. Only the key core areas will be retained by the organization. There could be a lot of healthier competition in the marketplace. So you will not have many people competing in the same space, but there will be 2 or 3 big players in competing. And that will bring focus again on what kind of culture and what kind of strengths you have. So all in all, even if technology enters in a big way, I can tell you, robotics, artificial intelligence, or any of the future technologies that we talk about, a person behind these technologies is going to be more superior than these technologies. You will not have any situation in future. This is what my sense is, where the technology will overtake human beings. It cannot, because the ability to imagine that we have, how much ever you build it into the computers and robotics, we cannot create it at the same level. So human imagination is unbelievable, and that cannot be replicated. So artificial intelligence can be built on something that we have already imagined or what we have already experienced. What are we going to imagine and experience from hence in future? We don't know. And then you will not be able to plan something like that in artificial intelligence, as simple as that. So human beings are going to be very important. What is important going to be there? It's what is the value that you are going to contribute to that in the system. So it is very important for each one of us as a talent, as a professional, to think and act like an entrepreneur. What is it that I bring to the table? And it will be very different than the conventional definition of a professional as an MBA. When I walk out of the school, I join this gang of a few professionals in a company and start contributing versus I walk into that workplace and I say that I'm a service provider and I will today come to the workplace and create this value. This approach is very different. So we have to start learning and building those unique capabilities that you are born with as a unique potential. So that focus is very, very important. So first and foremost is how do you manage yourself as a talent? That is the critical aspect. What are the critical competencies you have, capabilities you have, how you think about it, uh, what is it that your character that you want to show to the world and to your employer? Can you connect with the rest of the world, emotional level, and build that kind of relationship that will help you going forward? How will you measure the progress? So these are few questions that you will have to ask. Every professional will have to ask themselves. And second and most important thing is, how do you manage your network? And that is going to be critical. Even if geographically we may get distanced from each other, people may not meet face to face as often, or large number of people coming together may not happen, but the need for connectivity will grow in greater proportion. So staying connected distantly, virtually, but always and high frequency is going to be the key. So how are you managing your network? And you have to understand now the whole issue that I was talking in the beginning, it is a systemic issue. COVID-19 has created a systemic challenge. If it was only a healthcare issue, we would not be having these webinars and discussions like this. We will not be talking about future. So please understand, COVID-19 has changed and impacted a system and multiple systems. And that is why this network, which is a part of a system, is a very, very important thing that you will have to look at. So a systemic problem will require a systemic solution. As a professional, what solution you will provide will depend on how you look at your network, how that network helps you, and how you are aligned to this network that you are creating. Who are your stakeholders? Who do you want to take in your network? It is all a choice that you have, but it is something that you must recognize. You like it or not, you are part of a network. If you recognize it and understand what is your network, good for you. If you build, develop, and nurture that network, amazing. You will have great chances of success in the years to come. But if you want to stay away from that network and say that this is my life, I don't want to be part of any network for that matter, that would be a big mistake because you are not isolated. You are unique, you are different, but you are always connected. And how do you build on that connection is something that you have to think about. So the workforce is going to change, and you will see everybody like you and me. They are talking about future. They are thinking about future. They are preparing for the future. Just imagine when we get into the future and we see people like us there. Okay, they are all prepared to address that need of the future. And just imagine a future where there is no dearth of opportunities. Anything you can do there, if that is your potential and that is your capability. Being ready and being agile to adapt to what is going to come in the future, which we don't know today. But only thing we know is that it is going to be better than what it is today. So keeping that optimism and being prepared to prepare ourselves to address that future. This is going to be the key that will help people to move into the future, maintain that level of success, and be happy with what is coming on their plate. So that is where my point is on the future of work, workforce, and what we can expect there. Now, if you have any specific questions, I would be very happy to take it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an encouraging session. We shall now begin with the question answer round. The students can unmute themselves and ask their questions.
Hello. Hello, sir. It's Dhananjay here. Can you hear me?
Yes, Dhananjay, I can clearly hear you.
So as you said, there is a very high possibility that even after end of this pandemic, remote working will continue with us. So considering that, how should we develop ourselves to build and maintain relations with a remote workforce?
Look at it from a point, Dhananjay, today. Okay, even if we are not working from remote, just look at situation in February and before that. There was no COVID and there was no remote thing. Think about the people who are very close to you and who are very important to you in your life. How often you meet these people? Your best friends. When did you meet them last?
Probably at any celebration or a picnic or some kind of tours.
Yeah. And when we are studying, like in a school or maybe undergraduate program, living in a hostel, how often you meet them? Almost daily, right?
Yes.
So as you grow and this distance grows, geographical distance I'm talking about, and more we think that these mobile technologies they help us to stay connected, but they also help us to stay away from each other. Because now I can have a video call with you, I don't have to travel and meet you. You understand? This is how the mind works. So today also we are working from remote as far as our personal lives are concerned. We are still connected. We do our messaging. We have this, Twitter, WhatsApp, Instagram, WeChat, whatever you call it, but we choose a platform to stay connected with each other. And that is remote connection. When you are working remotely, I don't see there is going to be a big change in that way. But what is important is when I was saying that you have to train people. Now, what happens is when I'm talking to you face to face, there is a vibration of two human bodies. Based on that, you are able to get a feel. And you can see me, even if you are talking and I'm listening, you can look at me and say that, am I understanding what you are saying? Am I liking it? Am I feeling angry about it? Am I switched off? Everything you will be able to do. But in a remote situation, now you'll have to guess it.
Yeah.
Okay. And that is a different way of perceiving what is happening in the system. And now I say, okay, so there are so many students on this call from your school. Anybody has any question? And if there is a long pause, just imagine, 30, 45 seconds, 1 minute kind of pause. It is possible that many students are preparing their questions. But it is possible that I will perceive that, oh, nobody has a question, and before you guys could say, I have a question, I'll say, okay, if there are no questions, thank you so much. Have a good evening. Bye bye. Now we are on two different planets. You understand? So
Yes.
understanding this, the unsaid words, unspoken or unwritten words, the silence of the people on this remote communication. I say that if any one of you, for example, disagree, please raise your hand. And nobody raises hand. That means for me, it is very convenient to say everybody agrees, but it is not actually agreement. Just because I did not say I disagree, it doesn't mean I agree. Now you look at it from a business context that we're talking about a planning, strategy, problem solving, decision making, analyzing something, debating on some new ideas. How will you do that online? And how will you make sure that everybody feels actively involved, participated, being heard, and they are actually making a difference to the team there? You know, these are some of the competencies that will have to be built specifically among leaders, among employees, and how we avoid any miscommunication that may happen because of that. You didn't say anything, so I may feel that I was expecting that you will say yes. No, I was on mute. That's why I could not say that. I have to understand that something like this. These are small things, but the small things in even today's world also matter when we are sitting and doing a meeting in a conference room. So building that kind of a trust, relationship, and most importantly, the frequency of communication is going to be a big important factor in developing networks. So there are some questions on the chat.
Yes, sir.
So
Shall
Gagan,
I read out?
yeah, please do that, Jarna.
Sure, sir. So the first question is from Gagan. Actually, two questions. The first one being, how has productivity been impacted in the virtual setup? And if productivity has increased, do you see job contraction taking place in the future?
Okay. So, Gagan, it's a good question, because naturally we will have to measure that what is happening when we say people are working from home. For the month of part of March, full of April, and early May, of course, there was no sales because all the liquor shops were closed. So we were not able to sell anything. But 7th of April, we got a permission from two states, Assam and UP, to operate our factories. Even if they were red zones, the states allowed factories of certain commodities to be operated. So we started working. It was expensive for us because only 5%, 10%, 20% people can come out of 6, 7 bottling lines. Only 2 lines are allowed to go. Dispatches are not happening, or very few trucks are allowed to go. So we were producing, but we were not productive. Today, we still have 60, 70, 80% productivity in the factories, but still it is okay, meaning not a bad situation. For sales, we have seen a lot of autopilot happening early stages, and now we are servicing the markets. So that is not a big problem. Now, people like us who are office-based employees, we have been super productive. And we spend 12, 13, 14 hours every day. And as I was saying, work-life balance, it has become a big challenge for us. But lot of work has got done during this period that could not have ordinarily been done in the office setup. For a simple reason, I keep analyzing this. In an office place, what we call socializing, and many times it becomes a waste of time. Okay, and that is classical to Indian culture. I don't see that in other countries, even in the East, not necessarily in the West. Whenever I travel and see that, it's amazing that in any office I have gone so far outside India, nobody's mobile phone rings, you know, and even if the desk phone rings, it is at such a low volume. Unless you are very close to that person, you will not be able to hear. But in my office here, a guy sitting about maybe 20 desks away from my cabin, if his phone rings, I can hear in my cabin even with the door closed because they have kept it on a full volume. And when people talk on mobile phones, which they do every time, they walk around the floor while talking as if there is nobody there, they're sitting in their own hall, they're talking. And everybody is disturbed, but then it is a part of our life. We are like that. People are changing. But then I go and just pat on somebody's shoulder. So what's happening, bro? Kind of discussion happens there. Let's go for a coffee, or I haven't seen you for a long time. You're wearing nice clothes. All sorts of social chit chat happen. These are good things, but these are impeding the productivity of people. Now this is not happening at home. You understand? And this is what when we do this virtual coffee, my colleagues are telling that what is different at home. And they say that these time wasters are not there. And we realize that not all these chats we enjoyed. Because there are some people who come and hang around you, you don't like those people, really. But they waste your time. So productivity, I would say, is a mixed bag, but in the future, I'm sure productivity will be increasing on a positive side. I have no doubt about it. And not only for Pernod Ricard, for any other company who would choose to work remotely partially, may not be doing it 100%. Your second question, will the jobs get shrunk? I indirectly addressed that question when I was saying that you have to think like an entrepreneur. What it means is that work will remain there, jobs may not. So your work will be done differently. And when it is being done differently, you will have to be different as a profession. This is where we can be an industry in ourselves. For example, you look at this gig economy or gig worker. They can work for 3-4 employers. And if they are working for 3-4 employers, then each employer is not an employer for them. Each employer is a customer for them. Then you have to think like a service provider, like an entrepreneur. So these kind of changes in the approach will have to be brought in. So will the jobs shrink? I don't think jobs will shrink. The nature of jobs will change. And that you will have to keep an eye on. But that is why I'm not worried about it. It's not going to make people redundant, or it's not going to imbalance the demand supply. But the demand will be very different than what it used to be in the past. Definitely in the next 3 to 5 years, this will become more vivid. Immediately, you will see many trends that were there in the past will continue in the near future, mainly because of people like me sitting in decision-making positions that we have seen the world for more than 3 decades, and we have a tendency to extrapolate the same into the future. So many people will resist the change that is coming, and that is where you will see continuity. But over a period of time, it has to go. In 2 to 3 years, you will see big change.
Thank you, sir, for answering that question. The next question is from Omkar, and he's saying that thank you for walking us through the measures that PRI has taken for the safety and well-being of not only its employees, but also their families and even contract employees. As you rightly said, the systemic problem requires a systemic solution on behalf of large organizations. How did PRI make these changes in the short span to implement a digital strategy to venture into planning of production and partner with delivery partners?
See, one of the challenges that you have to see is how it started. Okay. I told you what we did in January, February, but we were doing it internally for our own business. What was happening outside was still beyond our control. And on 23rd of March, when government said that it's a lockdown all around, okay, nobody will operate. It was not something that was advanced warning given to people, and everything came to a standstill. And it was 2 to 3 weeks kind of a lockdown, and actually nobody knew that it will be talking about this in July and still be sitting at home. We expected that by April end everything will be all right. So that means all my goods, for example, that I dispatched from my factories for the bonds or distribution centers, they were halfway somewhere. Those trucks were parked. Some of it is lying in my godowns. So many trucks, they were parked on the spot like this with tons of our products stored in those trucks. And it's a big safety risk. It could be a huge challenge. So with the help of police and all that, we parked them in safer places and whatever best we could do. What it means is that the supply chain was very easy for us to operate because the day government allowed the movement of trucks interstate. We were able to quickly mobilize this. And as I told you, 7th of April, we started a couple of factories. After that, slowly, we started getting permission to operate the factories. Now, just imagine that I'm not saying every factory got that permission. It was only for alcohol-based products because governments knew very well. And if you understand it well, from about 15% to close to about 35% in different states overall revenue comes to the government from tax on alcohols. So this industry is very important. And the government, state government also, they were only suffering during this period because they were spending money and they were not earning anyway. Nothing was being sold except vegetables and milk. No GST collection, no nothing was coming. But the expenses continue. Now, where will they get their channel of money? And that they realize that the easiest and the best source is getting it from the alcohol sale. So they wanted to accelerate, which was helpful to us in becoming a little more agile. So what we did was that, as I said, every week we were having these leadership meetings, and down the line we created multiple forums, cross-functional forums. They were meeting at least twice or thrice a week, and the scenario planning was happening. If this happens, what will we do? If that happens, what will we do? We have a corporate affairs and public relations department. They have been continuously in touch with various governments and the leadership of each department that makes sense, like company affairs or the excise department, district magistrates in every location, and asking them, what do you think? And that is where we had a lot of inkling. We have industries body called SWI. We were talking among ourselves. That body was making representations to the government. We have manufacturers associations of liquor companies. They were representing the government. So all put together, we were very alert. But one thing that was also very important that I want to say at the risk of repeating, nobody expected this will be 6 months kind of. In March, we thought it will be 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 6 weeks. But end of April, we will be out of it. That's what everybody was thinking there. And slowly, in April, we didn't see the end. And this happened socially also, that people said, I think by July, everything will be all right. This is a general hope that was coming. And then comes June, mid-June, and then people said that this will stay up to September. And now somebody says this will stay up to 2025. So God only knows how long it is going to stay. But finally, we have now reconciled that let us learn to live with it. Let Corona also travel with us in the future. We'll manage that. But coming together and managing this as an issue, then every function, and this is where I keep talking to my leadership team. I was talking to our head of sales, and yesterday I asked him this question. I said, "Tell me, who sells?" It is a conventional wisdom that sales people sell. But today, who is selling? Because my salespeople are not in the market. And I said, today my manufacturing and supply chain people are selling. Because what is important in a alcohol shop today is availability of our product. Merchandising is not as critical as it used to. You will not see hordes of people going to liquor shops. Many people, when government and many agencies are doing surveys, the feedback is coming that you do as much as home delivery, will be happy to order that. Because people are used to home delivery of other products. Why not alcohol? And if that volume increases, the charges on home delivery will go down. So to that extent, multiple new activities we'll have to focus on. But the conventional one that we have done, that you get raw material, manufacture it, dispatch it, sell it, get the money back. That cycle very quickly was back on the track as soon as we got this, because we never were off track except that sales were not happening. Just everything was working together.
Thank you, sir, for answering that. The next question is from Alishmita, and she's asking, nowadays, most of the organizations, especially startups, have the trend of offering equity in lieu of compensation. Is it a fruitful process? Does this practice of asset sharing really increase employee engagement?
Employee engagement, Alishmita, I would say yes. Is it fruitful for employees? It's a matter of good luck or bad luck. Okay. So there are a lot of people who have become rich by getting these kind of offerings from companies. But I know many of the companies who started their business as a startup and they are in 10th year of their life. They still want the startup culture, but uh, their stocks have not gone to the markets, and people still are waiting. This IPO will happen someday, and we will become millionaires or something. For many companies, it has not happened. But startup is a different ball game. My experience is that anybody who is going to start up must be very clear why you are going. And at the risk of getting criticized, I want to make a statement. It is not as exciting as it appears from outside. So if you want to go and work for it, you can start a startup. Definitely, that is a great thing which you should do. But if you want to work for a startup, my suggestion to you is that talk to somebody who has already worked for a startup. Okay. Those who are already working for a startup may not give you the full information, but those who have stopped working and gone back to something else, talk to those people. They may give you right advice. What is it inside? I have had several cases of our employees leaving and joining startups. And recently, one person came back. Okay, after 2 years working there, one wanted to come and we didn't have a position at a very senior level. But I had told them at the beginning when they said that I'm going to start up, I said, be careful about it. I don't know. I've never worked for a startup, but I can tell you what I know is that it's different ball game. Anyways, that's not the point. Sharing of this equity in the form of stock options or units or whatever way companies do, it definitely is engaging, and the purpose of employers is to retain people. Okay, it is seen more as a exit barrier. But for employees, it also has additional value because it gives an emotional connection. And that is a huge thing. You know, having a share of a company, saying that I'm also a shareholder of this company, it gives a tremendous amount of connectivity to people. Many people do not leave such company just because they believe that I'm also partly one of this. So it has its own value. How much it will fructify in terms of money and returns to you, as I said, it's a matter of good luck or bad luck. But you don't have too much of control on your fate there. Like we have a scheme in our company for senior management, okay, where we give shares to them as a part of their compensation package every year. And this is a 4-year plan. Today, when I look back on this plan, every year the company must achieve certain targets on its profits and performance. Now, if this whole COVID thing, it has killed 3 years shares for us because it will pull down the average that our targets are to below 100%. Okay, so 4 years, whatever we have given to people in the past, now their stocks are underwater to large extent. How will we compensate? Because law doesn't allow anything to be done up. This is registered in Paris, and you know European laws are very complex. So now we are talking to lawyers, we are talking to our global board, and asking them to do some, sympathetic, empathetic consideration. Can we do something about it, and all those things. But these are legal schemes. You cannot play around. But when it gives you the benefit, it can give you handsome benefits. You know, much more than what you can earn as a salary as an employee. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. The next question is from Spandan, and he's saying, thank you for the session. Recently, many states have made changes in the labor laws, like Industrial Disputes Act. Do you see such measures helping industry, and how are conflicts resolved from unions, if any are there, in PRI?
Fortunately, Spandan, we don't have any unions at PRI. Okay, we have close to about 30 different manufacturing locations. Out of that, 4 are owned by Pernod Ricard, rest are or leased or contracted with third parties. But good part is we never had a union, and meaning we had unions, but not very strongly supported by our employees. You know, it was more like external people forcing them into us. Excuse me. So industrial relations is a thing that we manage internally ourselves directly, and we talk to people directly whenever there is an issue related to that. The changes that government is planning into the Industrial Disputes Act, to me, they are good and not good. Good in the sense we will give a good message to the investment community about how easy or good our labor laws are. but not good because there is going to be a strong tendency of employers to exploit. I can tell you based on my experience of industrial relations, it is a seesaw. You know, one side is always heavier than the other, and either the union is too strong or the employer is too strong. Balancing that is an art that many companies have not been able to learn. And this is a big challenge when it comes to MSME type of sectors of industry, where they don't know meaning how to balance it out. So, will it help? To some extent, yes, it will help. But my experience is that whenever I have seen a good industrial relation in any of the companies I have worked, we never talked about labor laws in that. So it is important to create that kind of a positivity in the organization. The relationship between employer and employees must be empathetic, and they will be very clear that both of them have vested interest in this relationship. So it's not about who is more powerful or who is weaker. That if you go with your mind on that side, then a weaker segment in that relationship quickly will build a strength, and they will become stronger than the strongest. It is possible. So there is a challenge here that people must understand, but very, very important for people to understand these legal changes, all these things, these have different connotations. Uh, how disputes are resolved, you will see most of the cases that go to the courts, they do not see light of the day. They keep on getting into appeals, but things that people resolve by sitting across the table. And that is where dialogue is very important. So if you are getting into this arena of people management, union management, industrial relations, my suggestion to you would be, after having seen many big things in industrial relations in my life, because I spent almost like 12 to 15 years my life in factories earlier, and that was the highest union activity period that we have seen, best and worst of it. So if you want to get into this area or you are exposed to that, my request would be to you that keep the laws outside. It is human relations. Have empathy. Talk to people. Communication is the key. Being authentic, genuine is the key. Even these unions and workers, they understand when you are under distress, they support you. It's not something that they are inhuman or unfair all the time.
Thank you, sir, for that answer. The next question is from Megha, and she's asking, the distributed supply chain consisting of grains, bottles, and other ingredients are prepared from different locations and go to a third location or plant for processing. These locations might span different states or even countries. So during this lockdown, how did you manage to contain this disruption and continue serving different markets?
This is a great question, Meda, because we have been talking about this all the while. So we have a S&OP process in the company, and we also have a overall planning process that happens within the supply chain organization, which is the logistics people, the manufacturing people, the procurement people, and they keep on talking about these things. So first and foremost is that excise that is applied as a levy on alcohol is a state subject. It is not central subject. So each state has their own legislation and their own administration mechanism called excise commissionerate. So we've been continuously in touch with them, and then the district magistrate and the police. These are two additional players that came into this whole game. But when it comes to alcohol, they are very strict about it. Though everything has to be clean and clear in documentation and physical space also. So we made sure that we have all these things in place. Our routes are defined, and we have trackers on each of our truck. They have digital locks, and we know where, if there are thousands of trucks moving around the country, exactly at this time, my supply chain team knows which truck is where and what is happening there. Every 10th minute, they get update about the movement of these trucks. So whenever they go through containment zone or a red spot zone or somewhere they are stopped, there is a breakdown or there is some kind of police blockade anywhere. We know how it is happening, but we made sure that these people, they are educated. They are all these truck drivers. They have been provided with the same PPE kits that we have given to our employees. They have been given the same guidance. They have been told about how do they manage their food, and when they are traveling. Uh, Now we have dhabas and restaurants open on along the highway. Earlier it was not there. We told them that you have to cook your own food on the way, so be careful about this and all that. So every possible care has been taken. When they go into the factory, you can understand a few hundred or thousand miles they have driven, met so many people, and they come inside the factory. They bring maximum risk to our people inside the factory. So we created isolation points for them when they come inside, the toilets for them, rest areas, eating areas for them, paper clearance, less number of people meeting them. So for people who are exposed to them, we give these overall PPEs that they should use, not only the mask and the face shield. So these kind of precautions were taken. Government will tell us this factory can work or this factory cannot. We have no say in that. When they say you have to stop, we have to immediately stop. So our biggest risk here was if an employee is detected with, say, COVID-19 as a positive case, and in April or May, government used to declare 28 days of quarantine for people, and that facility was also shut down for 28 days. That was a big risk that was hovering on our mind, that how will you manage if one guy is found sick like that? Then that became 14 days, then that became 10 days, and now government is saying that if you can shut it down for a day or two, do fumigation, sanitization, we are okay with that. You know, but this connectivity between the distribution points, and we have multiple ways of distribution. In some states, government itself is a distributor. In some states, it is private, and in some cases, it goes directly to the retail. So we are the distributor there. So these kind of routes to market we followed and make sure that these things happen. So far, so good. We have not had any big challenge in managing the supply chain.
Thank you, sir, for answering that. Sir, we have our faculty also with us today, and the next question is from Prabina ma'am. Ma'am, if you could please ask your question.
Good evening, Mr. Lonikar. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can.
So it is absolutely fascinating to listen to you, and I really enjoyed and liked the kind of initiative you have taken, more so for embracing the family member of employees and doing many such initiatives, quiz, dance, and this, different kind of activities which you have organized, your PRI has organized. My question to you is that students at IIT Kharagpur, MBA students at IIT Kharagpur stay here for 2 years and do a lot of activities in student activities, not only the class, the student activities in terms of the hall, hostels, debate, quiz, competition, drama. And for this batch specifically, 33% of their time they are not going to be there in the in fact 25% of the time they are not going to be there in the campus, in the sense the coming semester is going to be mostly work class from home. So as a senior academician, what kind of an initiative do you think we should be able to incorporate into our curriculum at this point in time, so that they develop this the softer side of their personality, which they are otherwise missing out by the fact that they are not going to be in the campus?
My experience, I will tell you, ma'am. If we allow them to answer this question, they will give a better answer. Meaning, if you pose it to them and say, okay, how would you like to handle this? And, probably they will have more realistic and more creative answer to this than what you can answer or I can answer. This is what we did with our employees also. When we did these activities with the people, initially we focused on some activities, and then this my Ananda team that went to people and they asked that what is it that you want to do, you know, and many of these ideas have come. Those were not our original ideas. And when we go and do a survey, what impact it is making on you, how is your family feeling, and all that, they send messages to us, they talk to us, they call us, and we see that they are very very happy with what is happening there, mainly because they are part of the design of that idea itself. So it's going to be a challenge, but if we can have, for example, an orchestra performing together from different parts of the country or world, and I have a friend who works for one big band, and he keeps doing this jamming very frequently these days. It's working so beautifully well when they do these programs. I'm sure these students will have more ideas or some of these things which uh, I didn't show you the videos, but if you really watch what our employees have done during this time, or the women, some employees, women employees, and some spouses of male employees, they have come together and they created these videos. It's amazing, meaning, and it's so inspiring to see all this doodle art kind of thing that people are doing. My wife does that now. So these are very interesting things people are doing based on some suggestions came from there. So more and more, and this again is I'm taking inspiration from our philosophy of Ananda. Ananda platform is fundamentally run like this, that it is by the employees for the employees. So HR is only incubating it and providing resources to that. If they need some monetary support or some equipment, we do that. But activities done on Ananda platform are done by employees themselves, and we don't get into that. So we don't even handhold these people. We don't hold them accountable also. Like some activity they start and they immediately close it, it is okay. Some activity becomes a big fire and everybody enjoys it, it is okay. Something goes on for 2 3 years, something goes on for 1 week. We don't ask any questions to people, but they're enjoying doing that. And that's where I think this volunteerism is more important for people to find what they can do during this time and how will they compensate for what we believe they are missing. Sometimes that is also a misnomer that we believe they are missing something. Maybe they are not. I don't know.
Thank you, Mr. Lonikas. And I think you have given an assignment for the batch to come up with a proposal that coming 6-7 months, let them decide what they want to do so that they end up becoming a better person and better human being, at the end of this, at least coming 1 year. Thank you. It's wonderful, wonderful to listen to your presentation, and it has been an eye-opener for me. Thank you once again.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir, for answering that. There's a question from Samuel, and fortunately, he has been an ex-PRI employee. His question is that responsible drinking is always something which PRI inculcates in its employees. But seeing some governments banning alcohol consumption in their states, how PRI is trying to convey for a change in the mindset of public towards the responsible drinking.
Thank you, Samuel. Happy to meet you as an ex-colleague. Responsible drinking, Pernod Ricard started 25 years ago when nobody was talking about it. Okay, and there are campaigns that this company has run on binge drinking or underage drinking, this kind of thing, or drink and drive, which no other alcohol company ever talked in India. From then, we have been talking about it. Today also, there is a huge focus on that. Recently, Pernod Ricard globally launched a new initiative on this, and every employee is required to undergo a certification program on responsible drinking. So it's like a 45 to 50 minutes of module you have to train yourself into, and then answer questions and get online certificate for that. And it was mandatory. We just closed it on 30th of June. With 100% people doing that. So that focus continues to be there because we believe that is our responsibility to our consumers, our society, and every stakeholder, that our products create conviviality and not create anything unwarranted into the lives of people, including health issues. The states, why they declare, and this is a very interesting thing, and as professionals, as students, and the future of the country, you have to think about it. I always have been thinking, this is one industry or product where the consumers do not have representation. So, like what Samuel is saying, that a state decides to prohibit alcohol consumption. Now you tell me, have you ever seen a morcha that people have come out and said that don't prohibit alcohol? Or a state decides that, like what happened in COVID time, like Delhi government was very enthusiastic. They said, we will charge 70% COVID cess on all products of alcohol. No consumer's voice is available in this. That how can you do that? If you do it for petrol, people will talk about it. If you do it for LPG, people will talk about it. Even if you increase GST on anything small and big, people will talk. But on alcohol, nobody talks. Why? I don't know. But there is no body. There is no. But everybody wants this to be addressed. And in a country which is, known for its deep roots of culture, little bit orthodox still, compared with many other advanced countries. But here we can talk about things like LGBTQ rights, which is still not a very comfortable subject in many parts of the world. But we have amended our constitution to accept it as a reality. A beef ban, when there is so much of opposition to that, we have people who have courage to go to the courts of law and say that eating beef is my right, don't stop me from doing it. Is there somebody who says drinking alcohol in a prohibited state is my right? Please allow me to do that. And who supports that? Okay, so why governments do this? And I suppose you understand that alcohol, as understood, where Pernod Ricard is or our competition is, we are in an operating segment which is very, very small segment of the overall alcohol industry in India. Okay, the big industry sits at the lower strata where cheap liquor, as they call it, is sold, and that is available at a cheaper price. What happens there is that the drinker there is drinking for getting intoxicated. Okay. So I am a labor working harder for 12 hours. I do so much of work that my body cannot take that work. Okay, I may be working in a mine, or I may be lifting some things that I'm not capable of doing, but I have to do it to earn my bread. So in the evening when I come back, I get a drink, and that is available at a cheaper price, and I just drink it to forget that pain in my body, and I want to sleep. And then I get used to this kind of a drinking. From there to some people who don't have to physically do that, but still they do that, and they become alcoholics, and then beating women, beating children, or spoiling all their household things into that, not paying attention to education of children, fighting with other people, creating health issues for self. All these things are big, big problems of drinking with that kind of a strata. Okay. In India, when you say drinking, the drinking is right from Shiva's regal to this guy. Everything is drinking in this country. Okay, there is no difference in these two things. So when they prohibit the most expensive alcohol and cheapest of the alcohols together. So both the consumers are also put into the same class. And when they do that, the idea of doing this is political idea that a politician would like to appease to the women in the villages and say that in your village, your husband comes, drinks and beats you. I will make sure that I will be prohibiting alcohol, so you will not drink and you will not beat you. Which is a fair point. Nothing wrong about that. But then the people who are in this operating segment want to use this consumption of alcohol as an occasion to have that convivial moment, to enjoy life. And they do it by choice, not because they are addicted to that. Okay. At this level, you will not see those kind of addicted people. Could be 0.5, 0.2% people should still be addicted. Majority of the people do it because they want to enjoy that. But then they are also covered in the prohibition. And there is no voice. So as industry, we keep representing to the government, saying that You should not do that. The pricing should be there. Like there are many states in India where government does distribution and government does retails also. So people have to stand in a queue to buy their liquor at a government shop. And if you have ever experienced that, you would know that these shops are dirtiest places. And all sorts of people you have to stand next to. No women consumers would like to ever go and buy from these shops. And most importantly, because government shops, they will keep brands of their choice. You will not get your brand in those shops. So in one of the states, I don't want to name, where the retail is with government, I went on a market visit and I was amazed, meaning the kind of whiskies they were selling. I had never heard the names of any of those whiskies, like Lion whiskey, Tiger whiskey, all anything you call it and it's a whiskey there. But you go and say, do you have Royal Stag or Imperial Blue? And they say, no, we don't keep it here. Which are the most popular brands that consumer wants, but that shop will not keep because it's a government shop. And that government has a choice which they want to sell or which they don't want to sell. So who will influence them? As much as possible, we as employers, we as business house, we as industry association, we try our level best, but political system is stronger than any of these things.
Thank you for giving us a wide overview of that. So the next question is from Uday, and he's asking that the morale of employees and the extent of awareness determines the effectiveness of customer engagement initiatives, which in turn directly impact the business results. People need to be taken into confidence, otherwise, even a well-intended action might not yield the desired results. How important is employee communication in such a crisis? Can you please elaborate on some key measures or best practices pertaining to the same?
See, when we talk of connectedness, it's all about communication. When we talk of branding, it is all about communication. We talk of engagement, it is all about communication. What I have in my mind, I want you to know, it not only depends on what I have in my mind, but also how I am able to communicate with you, how effectively I convey it to you. So that's a very important thing, whether it is consumer or employee, and they always watch. And this phrase, which is popular, is reading between the lines. That's what everybody does. We keep actually listening to what is not being said. And this is human mind, that when somebody is telling you something, you're not only listening, but you are continuously evaluating. And many times you're not actually listening, because that evaluation process takes so much of part of your brain that you're not listening what is being said, but you're projecting. Now the next statement will be this, now this guy is going in this direction. And you expect that to happen, which may not be happening there also. So communication is a big deal, I can tell you. And those who are good at communication, they are most of the time likely to be big success. And reverse is also true, that you may be a great gun with competencies and all that, but if you cannot communicate, probably you will not be as successful as your potential is. So in our case, this was the first thing that we realized, that we have to constantly stay in touch. So in the first few weeks, there was an instruction that each people manager, and that's what we designed the organization. So we said that with so many people here, how can we keep doing this kind of communication centrally? So let's go to the first level of unit. So there is a bunch of 5 people and they report into one manager. So this unit of 6 people must continue to talk to each other every day. And then this leader of this team is a part of next higher team, where there are 10 such leaders and one top leader. So these 11 people, they must talk every day. Like this, we created this chain and we started monitoring through the top leadership team and the HR team across the country, whether this is happening or not happening. And as it was happening rhythmically, we started finding out what is being discussed there, what happens, what people are saying. So initially there was a sense of it's a fancy, working from home and very new feeling. So there was a fear and there was excitement also. So there is a newness that people were experiencing. And as things started moving forward, then we realized that you cannot keep people engaged only by communicating certain things again and again. if I give you motivational talks every day, 5 times a day, you'll not be able to digest it. You'll switch off completely. So a human mind cannot take something like that. So to that extent, we had to bring some kind of content into this communication. And that's where we started putting this, like I showed you, the leadership talk series that we did. The idea of leadership talk, 7 leaders talking for about 20 minutes every week, one leader coming in. Okay, 7 weeks it was going on. And they were telling their stories to people that this is how life is going on for me, and this is how my team is doing, and how I am preparing for exiting from lockdowns. As and when the government allows, when the business will recover, how it will recover. So this is my strategy, this is my plan, this is my philosophy, these are my resources. Like this. And that was giving confidence to people that when the recovery phase comes, we will be among the first. As I said, when we started our factories in April in UP and Assam, no other alcohol company had done that. We were the first company to start factory operations. And that's why when the markets opened, we were quick to move with supply chain. Our product was available ahead of anybody else in the marketplaces at that point in time. And today also in many states, we are much ahead of our competition only because of that. So there's meaningful communication. Then I talked about this coffee with Shrikant sessions that we did. Why did we get people from non-industry and other companies CEOs to come and talk about it? Simply for the reason that we all are in the same situation. The problem is more or less same of COVID-19, but the response is very different from everybody. So let's look at it from an outside-in perspective, how people are responding to that, bringing that. These bulletins being published. Every day there is some or other session happening. Like yoga session happens at 7 o'clock every day religiously. And hundreds of people, family members, they get up, get ready, and they participate in this. And these are things that we're not spending too much of money on. Like this yoga, we had a teacher who used to come to our head office and train us. Okay, in the head office, we used to do this class for 40 minutes. Since we closed, we said, why don't you do it for all India? Because now for you, you do it in your house, and how many people watch, how does it matter? And he agreed with the little additional cost, and he does it now. So we are not doing anything extra than what we were doing, but hundreds of thousands of people are getting benefited by that. So staying in touch with each other, and most importantly, then from a health issue, that is the most concerning thing. So these are two areas. One is business activity, and second is the health activity. So we created these crisis committees across the country. So there is a top crisis committee, and then there is a hierarchy. So wherever there is a unit of people, like 10, 20, 30 people in one town or city they are operating, there is a crisis committee there. And the numbers of these people are available. So anybody can talk to these people, and they continuously keep in touch. There were employees who were bachelors, as I told you. Some are forced bachelors and some are real bachelors. So they don't have anybody. Now I'm a bachelor, I have 3 room partners. And my 3 partners have vanished. They went back to their hometowns. I'm the only person in my apartment. And then I cannot step out. And how long I'm going to eat Maggie's? So I'm going to get bored here. So how do we keep people like this busy? So we made sure that there are activities being done more with such employees. They are in constant touch. The boredom, depression does not impact these people. We continue to do that. And in between our top leadership team, right from our headquarters in Paris to Asia and India, we regularly send video messages, webinars to people just to reassure that you don't have to worry about the future. We are taking care of it. Our future is brighter, and we're going to get into future with a lot of promise. Just be ready. And people are seeing that May and June, the business performance has been pretty fine for us. We are very close to what we would have ordinarily done if COVID-19 was not there. And July onwards, we are seeing a lot of normalization likely to happen in the market. And when business does well, company makes money, the growth happens, people generally feel happier and reassured about their future. If your future is reassured, you're less worried than normal. So that's what I see as a value of communication.
Thank you, sir, for answering that. Now we have the last question from Aparna, and she's asking that considering the strong foothold that Pernod Ricard has on the premium and deluxe liquor segments? Does the firm have plans to diversify its product portfolio to artisan liquors like craft beer? Also, how do we inspire blue-collar employees and remain connected with them, especially in times of crisis?
Thank you, Aparna, for asking. Both are interesting questions. So first one I will answer very quickly. We are into wines and spirits. Okay. Beer has never been our preferred segment. Beer has its own challenges. However, the trend that we see globally is even non-alcoholic uh, beers, non-alcoholic whiskeys coming into the market, non-alcoholic wines coming into the market. So what does that mean? Is anything and everything that is likely to happen in the future. So someday will we get into this kind of a craft beer or any kind of a beer industry? 2 years ago, my answer would be a firm no, that we will never do that, because that was our clear strategic choice. Today, I look at it and say, why not? If that is an opportunity in the future, we will be open to that. Are we doing something about it? No, we are not at this point in time. But this COVID-19 is like a 90-degree turn, so we don't know how we are going to think in future also. So a lot of transformation is happening. There is a possibility that we may have answers to these questions, which are in our minds also in the next 6 to 9 months' time. The second question about blue collar that you asked, we have no differentiation like this, Aparna. So whatever we do for our employees, like people like me, companies doing something, same thing is happening to the blue collar people also in the factory. So it is all need based. Okay. So in the factory, my factory head, general manager of manufacturing, whatever he gets, the same thing my blue collar worker gets, and same thing the contractor labor or a security guard standing at the gate, they will also get same thing. So we do not differentiate. If, for example, I have given, say, Wildcraft cotton reusable masks, 2 pieces per employee and 2 pieces for every member of the family. Same thing is done to the blue collar. If you are given a 500 ml sanitizer to my factory head, a similar quantity will go to blue collar workers' family. So for us, it is, and this is not only for COVID-19. This has been our approach from the beginning in everything and anything that we do here. I generally and personally believe when it comes to resources, these people need more than people like us. And if we have to bring them at par, then we'll have to do more with them rather than at par. In that, if I give 2 masks to my general manager, I give 2 masks to the labor. That's not the case. If I'm giving 2 to this guy, I may have to give 10 to that blue collar worker because they need it more than that, and they may have more members of families there. So how do we support them? That has always been a part of our focus area, and one of the reasons why we do not have unions is that they see that we proactively fulfill their expectations, and many a time we surpass what they expect. We do more than.
Thank you, sir. Thank you once again for answering all of those questions. With this, we come to an end of today's session. So I would like to thank you for such an enriching session. The insights that you shared regarding the various measures that Pernod Ricard undertook as the various stages of the pandemic unfolded, going above and beyond the call of duty to ensure the physical and mental well-being of your employees while remaining committed to the society was really inspiring, and it is a true reflection of the organization's core values. It was a great opportunity to learn from your experiences today, sir, and we are extremely grateful to you for sparing your invaluable time to interact with us. We look forward to similar such engagements in the future, and we hope that this will be the start of a lasting relationship with you and your organization. And thank you once again for such a riveting session. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Zarna. Thank you, everybody. Really appreciated this opportunity that you have given to me to be part of this discussion today, and having me on the session here. My best wishes to all of you for a brighter future. There would be short-term challenges that all of us are facing. And I'm sure you guys know how to handle yourselves during this time. So don't think too much, but get prepared, okay, for opportunities that are coming. Keep that optimism and positivity all the time with you. The people who already are here, maybe a few batches before you, or people like me who have been here for long periods of time, we are more worried about protecting our jobs today. Okay, so to that extent, don't worry. Everybody has some or other worry today. We are all in the same boat, but the best and the most competent people and people filled with positivity, they will sail through and they will have better future in any situation. So my suggestion to you is that develop your self-awareness, invest in your development, take as much time as you can to make yourself a better professional, better human being, and more competent person. And do not lose your uniqueness. Okay? There is nobody like you. So don't forget that. Don't get into comparison mode. Just focus on being the best that you can be. And I'm sure future will be bright. And we'll be very happy to stay connected with IIT Kharagpur Management Department in the years to come. Thank you. All the best.